Hi, my name is Sarah Bryant, and for my thesis, I looked at how workplace policy impacts breastfeeding mothers. So, what did I want to know? I wanted to look at how does workplace policy have an impact on breastfeeding mothers, and if negative support towards breastfeeding has impact on sooner than desired breastfeeding cessation for mothers. For my literature review, I looked at the societal influence of breastfeeding and the societal norms of breastfeeding. Society has a heavy influence and strongly urges mothers to breastfeed their children. Studies show us that there are many medical benefits to breastfeeding, but there are also physical, nutritional, and parenting advantages for the mother and the baby. Breastfeeding can be a very sensitive topic when it comes to mothers, and mothers may feel strongly about breastfeeding because society has taught her to be. The task of breastfeeding can be very stressful alone, especially when you add it into the working mother's workplace schedule. And another factor that I looked at was workplace support. Policies that are not as sufficient or as effective as those policies in practice. An example would be added break time into the schedule, a sanitary and safe place for the mother to pump, and a place for her breast milk to be stored at a refrigerated temperature away from the other refrigerator that employees may share. This is crucial to breastfeeding support in the workplace because research shows us that negative impacts on breastfeeding can lead mothers to stopping before their desired time to do so. This research specifically tells us that there are things that have major impact, and that is family support and workplace support. If the mother is being urged by the benefits of breastfeeding, the societal influence to breastfeed, the workload of being a mother and her duties at home, the mother needs to feel supported by her employer and to made feel like she is cared for while she is away from home. I also looked at the gender inequality in the workplace. There is argument of gender difference when associated with work compensation, and breastfeeding mothers play a huge part in this argument. In fact, studies show us that mothers who breastfeed longer than 6 months will, in fact, experience earning loss than a woman who breastfed less than 6 months or not at all. We also know about the second shift. The second shift is where the mother has her day job where she works, and then she goes home and she tends to the cooking, the cleaning, her children, and taking care of her house. Along with this second shift, we have the ideal worker norm. The American workplace has been organized to keep men in mind. This is what's known as the ideal worker norm. Ideal workers are supposed to be dedicated to their job. That means that family and work are separate. Typically, the ideal workers have been men. Women are seen as home carers, taking care of the home and the children. Working women find themselves at this intersection of ideal worker norms that assume total dedication to family and societal norms that want women in the workplace while also limiting to what they can achieve if they want to be a professional and be a mother. So I want to take a look at the gaps and the way and my methods and my data collection. So I looked at workplace policy of that of three major corporations, which allowed me to understand how the policies were being justified in the workplace and allow me to make a connection with breastfeeding support. I looked at the workplace policy of Walmart, Amazon, and Target. And as we all know, these are three major corporations, large employers. So the gaps and the limitations in my study is that I wasn't able to examine every single workplace policy, just that of three corporations, but they are three large major corporations. So I feel like I did get a lot of information for this for my thesis. So I want to take a look at the findings. Corporation policies have impact on mothers who breastfeed. If a mother feels that she is not being supported in the workplace, she is definitely more likely to stop breastfeeding earlier than her desired time. If workplace support is not shown, is shown, it is most likely that she will remain breastfeeding for her desired time. I looked at Walmart's policy, and the policy suggests that mothers must apply for a reasonable accommodation if they are pregnant, breastfeeding, or have a related condition. That means that they have to apply to get certain benefits, but or these certain accommodations, and they maybe probably have to pump in their car or in the restroom, and they have to bring their own cooler to work so they can properly store their breastfeeding, their breast milk. Um, and then I also looked at Target. Target leverages the unique capabilities and perspectives of their individuals, and they respect their team members by listening and responding to their needs. They also offer nursing rooms to workers and their guests who need to feed or pump in a safe, private environment. And I personally know where I've been to Target and been in the dressing rooms that they do have nursing rooms in most locations. So that's great because they offer a place for the mother to pump privately. Um, and at Amazon, their goal is to support the mother on their journey back to work and make their transition as easily as possible. They offer mother rooms at some locations and even provide mothers with breast pumps at a discount. I thought that was great that they provided their mothers with breast pumps if needed. So, for my discussion, I wanted to take a look at societal norms, how they implemented policies for all, and what should the policies look like. So, we know there are several sociological factors when it comes to breastfeeding, and one argument of this is the direct negative attitudes of breastfeeding and how it impacts and the other factors that, despite intention and desire to breastfeed, cause earlier than the desired cessation or stopping of breastfeeding. The more the mother feeds and pumps, she would create more milk for her baby over time, and is more likely to keep breastfeeding if she can keep producing milk for her child. It is that of responsible feeding which is embedded into the knowledge and attitudes of societal norms. Over time, these norms build an environment that mothers can rely on when breastfeeding. These ideas create attitudes toward breastfeeding, and it can be crucial when it comes to mothers and their ability to breastfeed and to be able to continue to breastfeed. This study helps to understand how support has impact on breastfeeding mothers. Employers need to understand the negative insight towards breastfeeding and that it can lead to mothers turning to earlier than desired breastfeeding cessation if they do not feel supported in the workplace. So I determined that workplace policy needs to be set up towards supporting breastfeeding employees, and the policy needs to have certain implementations. Those implementations include a sanitary, private, and safe place to pump while working, allowing extra break time in their schedule for pumping, and supportive workplace environment from coworkers and management overall. In conclusion, I suggest that there need to be further studies towards breastfeeding in the workplace. I would suggest that workplace policy needs to be made to keep the modern woman in mind when making the policy towards family. It needs to be normalized that women can be professionals while also being a mother. Neither should hinder her from achieving her professional or family goals. Since many of the studies pertaining to breastfeeding are biological, we can connect this societal norm associated with the negative ideas towards breastfeeding and see the impact it has on breastfeeding continuation and breastfeeding mothers. Once the workplace evaluates their own policies, they can move forward to prevent mothers from earlier than desired breastfeeding cessation. By continuing to research this topic, we can start to bridge the gap between the negative support towards breastfeeding and to start eliminating the issues that mothers face when they breastfeed their children. Thank you.